Okay, lovely people, let's get started. So making sure you're nice and comfortable in your space, on your mat, whatever you're working with, and hi to all of you joining live. Lovely to see you. So starting in child's pose tonight. So take your knees wide, let your big toes touch. You're going to soften, take a big inhale through the nose if you can, and exhale through the mouth. You're going to take 2 more of those and sigh it out as loud or as much as feels comfortable. Big breath in. And then start to walk your hands forward. Make sure your hips are at a comfortable position. You want to feel a bit of a stretch going on here. So make sure they're not too close unless we're working with some tightness through the hips, and just gently soften down to the floor. You can always keep your head lifted. If you have a prop, a brick or a block, then pop it under your forehead. You can always makeshift a prop with your hands fist on fist to make a little tower, or palm on top of hand and make a pillow for your head. You might want to roll your head right to left if you haven't pressed on something. It'd be nice and grounding at the start of your practice. Feel a connection to the floor, feel heaviness. And just start to settle into your breath. Take your arms forward if it's comfortable for you, if you'd like to enjoy it. More of a stretch. It's going to bring through the upper body and underneath the arms into the lats a little bit too, but keep it soft. Let the elbows just melt down to the floor as the head kisses the mat. Whichever shape you found here, just let your body have a moment to open up to this position. It is working into the hips without much active sort of energy from your part. But on arrival in this shape, it might feel a bit tight, a bit stiff, and that's okay. So you're going to focus here for 3 more breaths, just on starting to turn your attention inward. Maybe noticing sounds around you. Start far away and see what you can hear nice and close. And just bring your attention to watching your breath. Inhale and exhale. Breathing out your day, whatever else has been going on for you. Just pausing it here, punctuating your time as you land on your mat to stretch for the next 30 minutes. And with each breath, as you inhale, feel your belly rise and expand, maybe pressing onto your thighs or the space in between. As you exhale, you can feel your belly fall. Inhale, belly expands. Exhale, and it falls. On your next 3 breaths, you're going to start to counting in maybe for 3 or 4 breaths to start with, maybe longer if you've been doing a breath practice for some time. Just a pause, hold at the top. We're not retaining breath for a particular count, but just a beat. And then your breath is going to switch to an exhale for another 3 to 4 counts. And then just a brief pause as it turns back to an inhale. Try counting your breath for the next 3. Coming to the end of your final cycle of breath here. Then blink your eyes open. Extend your arms forward if they were bent. Just gently let the light filter back in. If your eyes were closed, just go steady. Reach your hands forward, palms pressed down into the mat. Feel a deep stretch arriving through your back, through your shoulders, all the way to your fingertips. Press your hips down soft towards your heels. Breathe in and out. Now come up onto the fingertips. So you're lifting the palm of the hand off the floor, creating a little tent, a little teepee shape through both hands. So press down here through each pad of the finger and feel your breath expand right to left, left to right. So breathing into your rib cage here, side to side, feeling a full, wide breath. 1 in and out. You're going to release the fingertips. So hands come flat to the floor again, walk them over to the left-hand side. Right hand pops onto your left if you can comfortably place it there. Laterally stretching, flexing through the right side body, stretching from the right fingertips Following a line up your arm, your shoulder, down your right rib cage, all the way to your right hip. Breathe in and out here, nice and steady, one breath. And then when you're ready, walk your hands back through center. Going to take that over to the other side. So this time, left hand places on top of your right or near it. So really getting into some side breathing, side body opening today. We're going to take a focus on the front body too. So stretching through the front of the hips, the torso, chest opening, maybe into the quads as well. And then come back through center. You're going to lift your hips, separate your feet if your toes were touching. So come into our all fours, knees underneath hips. You're going to walk your hands forward for 2 breaths, taking a puppy pose or a variation of it. So you walk your hands forward and you lower your chest down towards the floor. Your hips stay as much as you can stacked over your knees. It's okay if they're not exactly there, but making sure that we're not shooting too far back. And you can first come to elbows and pause here. Maybe this feels good. Focus on stretching underneath the arm, like around the armpits, underneath the shoulder. If it feels good to go a little further, you can always bring in a prop, or if not, maybe palms slide away and the chest comes down towards the floor. It doesn't matter if it touches, it might touch. Maybe you bring the chin to the floor. It's going to compress the back of the neck. So just see what feels good. Pause wherever you can feel. Stretch through the shoulders and the side body into the lats, upper back opening. Breathe in and out here, one more breath. And if your fingertips are quite far away from you, just shuffle them in an inch or 2. Rebend the elbows, rock yourself forward. We're going to come all the way forward to a Sphinx pose. Shuffle your feet back, make sure you've got some space. Allow your hips to lower down to the floor, nice and steady. So come into a prone position. That's belly to the floor, front body to the floor. Slide your hands forward. You can keep super low if you'd like to. Elbows underneath the shoulders. Tops of the feet are flat on the floor. If your toes are curled, then untuck them. Your hands can stay here if we're okay and healthy in the back today. Then maybe slide the hands forward and start to lift a little bit. So maybe elbows underneath the shoulders. We're in a Sphinx pose. This is a passive back extending pose. So we're opening up through the front body, compressing into the lumbar spine to keep a nice healthy back. If this feels too much, too lifted, you can lower down by sliding the palms further away. You can keep a bend in the elbows or maybe come to crocodile pose, which is hand on hand, lower the head down to the palms. So any version of this, depending on how you're feeling through the lower back, it can often be an area of tension, of discomfort. So don't stay if it feels sticky, not great, any pain. I'm going to take 3 breaths in your version of this shape. For the final breath, if you feel your shoulders have risen up towards your ears, see if you can let that go, any tension through the shoulders into the upper arms, the biceps. Final full breath in and out. Lovely work. And lower your chest and your chin down towards the floor. We're going to lift up and down through cobra pose. So again, any issues with the lower back, then be mindful of that and lift only to where feels comfortable for you. Hands are going to go, first of all, underneath the shoulders, palms down, fingertips to the floor, elbows, tuck them in if they're winging out to the side. Press your hands down, press your toes down to the floor. Inhale to lift, squeeze your bum as you lift your chest and your chin forwards. And feel the strengthening arriving at your low back. It's switching on, it's working here. You squeeze your glutes as you extend through the spine, lift it up and lower down. You're going to take 2 more of these. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower down. Moving with breath, strengthening through the back, stretching through the front body. Final one. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to lower down. And now we're going to shuffle the hands slightly wider. So taking those fingertips, maybe just a hand or 2 handprints away from each shoulder. So all they're doing is shuffling wider. You can repeat what we just did, or we're going to press the fingertips down, lift the rest of the hand off. So the same TP shape that we did with our child's pose. Toes press down still. The front body presses down, the hips, the pubic bone, and then you lift the chest up, elbows bend. So we're kind of a wider cobra shape. You lift up and you can press into the fingertips. Maybe that allows you to lift a little higher. Breathe up and down. You're going to flow through 2 more of these with the pace of your breath. Inhale to lift up, press through the fingertips, press through the toes, the front of the hips, squeeze your bum, and exhale to lower all the way down. Final one. And then shuffle the hands back in. We're returning to all fours. So pressing the chest up, lift your hips up, shuffle those knees back underneath your hips, tops of the feet flat on the floor, option to curl your toes under here if that's more comfortable for you. Hands underneath shoulders. Let's flow through 3 rounds of cat-cow. Inhale to drop the belly, lift up, look up. The chest peels forward as the tailbone lifts high up to the ceiling. Knees press down, hands press down. Exhale to round down, breathe it out, arch, flex through the spine, chin tucks underneath towards the chest, and you're gazing up towards your belly button. Again, hands, feet, knees press to the floor. Inhale to lift up, look up. So moving back to extension, this arching of the back up. Tailbone lifts, gaze and chin tilt up to the sky. And exhale to round down, chin to chest. Each time trying to find more space in your angry cat pose. See if you can feel a broadening of the space between the shoulder blades as they move apart. Inhale to look up, the shoulder blades move back together. Exhale down. And I think that's our final one here. Return to a neutral spine, so a lovely flat back. Take your hands slightly wider than shoulders and forwards. We're going to move through to a downward facing dog. Press your hands down, press the heel of the hand and the fingertips to the floor. Curl your toes under. Inhale to lift, hover the knees. Breathe in and out here. Pause for a breath. Switch on your core. Hard work to hold yourself here in a bear pose with the knees lifted. Exhale. On your next out breath, hips high, head low, downward facing dog. Lift and lower your right heel and your left heel. Chest pushes back towards your thighs and the crown of your head is low to the floor. Straight through both arms. Look at the inner elbows. See if you can get them internally rotating so they're looking more towards one another rather than forwards. Press down through the fingertips, heel of the hand, toes pressed to the floor. When you walk out your down dog, left and right, find a position that feels good to settle. Maybe heels are close to the floor, or maybe they're a way off like mine. You can always keep a bend in the knees. Imagine someone's picking you up from the front of your hips, hip crease. And that's the sort of level, the angle that we want with your hips. So your tailbone is tilting up really nice and high, pointing to 12 o'clock. Now you're going to plant your heels down to the floor and walk your hands towards your feet. Hands towards feet, different direction than we would normally go. So take a good old bend in both knees and then walk your hands, strength through the upper body here to press yourself into a little low, wide leg squat almost at the back of your mat. Knees are bent and your head is going to hang here and we're arriving at a ragdoll, but we're at the back of the mat this time. Take a catch of opposite elbows. Keep your hips and your legs still and sway to the left and the right. Keep your eyes open. And then release your hands to the floor. Press down through both feet, all 10 toes. Take a bend through the knees. You're going to uncurl yourself, rolling all the way to standing. Nice and steady, nice and strong. Mountain pose, back of your mat. Well done. So palms facing forward here. Take 2 breaths in mountain pose. Feel grounded through both feet. Bring the feet together if you can, if it's good for balance. Then the mound of your big toes are touching. Rock the weight back into the heels. You should be able to lift up your toes and then place them down one by one. Feel the connection to the floor beneath you. I'd like your tailbone to be long. So think about curling the tailbone under, slight tilt of the pelvis if you feel that your back is arching. Squeeze your inner thighs together. Squeeze your bum. Engage through your core, through your lower abdominals, as though you're bracing yourself through that midline completely. Ribs are not flared, they're tucked in. You're strong and engaged all the way through the midline, 360 around your core. Standing here strong like a mountain. Focus on a point in front of you and allow the palms to soften and open forwards if they're not there already, so the shoulder blades can sit flush to the spine, breathing in and out. Inhale to lift your arms up high. On your next big breath in, fingertips reach up all the way to the ceiling. Press your palms together, look up towards your thumbs. Allow your ribs to flare forwards now. We are expanding and opening through the front body as you look up towards your fingertips and your thumb. Slight extension of the spine, gentle standing back bend. You're now going to drop your hands forwards, interlace the fingers. You can separate your feet here if it feels better and more comfortable to stand. So your fingers are interlaced, you're pressing them away, slight bend in the knees, and allow your spine to flex. So we're rounding through the spine. Press the shoulder blades away from you and your fingertips in the opposite direction. Breathe in and out. And as you take an exhale, release the hands, separate them forward, sweep them back. Interlace them behind you. Expect some cracks and pops here. I certainly get those when we come into opening through the chest. So press the palms together if you can. And if not, maybe taking a grip of the wrists or the elbows behind, but find a position that feels like you can roll those shoulders back and you take some resistance through the fingertips or the hands. Chest opening forwards, gazing up slightly, open through the chest, allow the shoulders to move. And then release the hands. Inhale, arms up, palms press. You're going to sweep them wide. Left hand sweeping to left side, right hand sweeping to right. Bend both knees. Take them forward, sweeping through a chair pose. Coming into a little balance here. So bend the knees and feel a stretch halfway. So in kind of a lifted chair, so not too low. Palms forwards. You're going to lift up in a moment to the toes. So keep sweeping all the way, fingertips to the ceiling. And when you're there and you've got the fingertips reaching up, see if you can lift the heels. Balancing into the tiptoes on both feet, strengthening through the calves, the ankles. Hold here for 2 breaths. Excellent work. Final one. Use those toes. And exhale to sweep the arms wide. Let the heels resettle to the floor. And do 2 more of those. Inhale, arms up, palms press. Make yourself as tall as you possibly can and then as wide as you can as you send the arms wide. Bend the knees. Chest comes forward slightly as you sweep through a strengthening chair pose. Heels press down here and you're going to feel a stretch arrive through the back of your calves. Inhale to lift all the way up, find the balance. Fingertips reach up to the ceiling and then you lift the heels, lift up into the toes. Hold for 2 breaths. Find a point to focus. You're doing so well. And exhale, arms release. Final one. You know where you're going now. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, wide through chair. And balance. Final breath. Give it all you've got. Press your toes down. Reach your fingertips up. And release. Good work. I'm going to walk the hands forward now. So refinding a bend in the knees. Fingertips crawl along the mat and you're going to take yourself all the way to a downward facing dog. So head low to the floor, palms pressed to the mat. Chest pushes back towards the thighs. Inhale to rock yourself forward to a plank pose, either in a full plank, so knees lifted off the floor in a high push-up position, or we take knees down and curl the toes. Find what version's working for you today, depending on how much heat you want in the body, and you're holding it here for 3, for 2, for 1. Knees lower to the floor, and then chest lowers all the way down. Elbows tight to the rib cage, working through the upper arms. Inhale to lift the chest. To taking a cobra pose as high as you would like. In cobra, we keep the elbows bent, and then exhale to lower down. Inhale to lift up to downward facing dog. Get some flowing going this evening. Press the head down towards the floor, chest to thighs. And then look towards your hands. Drop your left knee to the floor and step your right leg forwards. So bringing in some support. If you're on a hard floor like me, you might want a blanket under that back left leg. Great work. So coming forward to low lunge, right knee over right ankle, opening through the front of the left hip. Find some balance. Maybe hands coming to Anjali Mudra, prayer, center of the chest, or maybe we're lifting up, reaching, big inhale. Lift the fingertips up towards the ceiling. You could keep them pressed. You could separate depending on what feels good for your stretch here. Allow the hips to sink down as your fingertips reach up. 1 breath in And as you exhale, sweep the arms back, come into a half split. Allow the right toes to pull towards you, straighten through your right leg. Ardha Hanumanasana, this is half split pose. And we're going to take a stretch through the upper back today. So you're going to take your left hand, if you can, always an option to keep the fingertips to the floor, to your baby toe, little toe on the right side. So your right hand is down on the floor anyway. And your left hand tracks maybe to the outside of the right leg. And if you can get it towards your right toe, then great. And what this is doing, you're going to feel this stretch through the intercostal muscles of the rib cage on the left side. Again, into the lats, the shoulder. And we've got some twisting going on. So fingertip, your gaze may be down towards your right fingertips. You're staying here for 2 breaths. And release the hand. Left hand, right hand comes either side of the front foot, rebending to your low lunge. Shuffle your right foot across. We're going to find pigeon pose. So you might want to bring it in and then across, or come to a tabletop and then through. And I always walk my front foot quite a way back first. So we don't want anything funky going on with the front knee that's going to cause any pain. Much better to come into a softer version, a generous version, and then make adjustments when you're down with the leg forwards. And if this isn't serving you, because let's be honest, sometimes it's a bit tricky to get into and a bit tricky to hold. So you can always drop your right bum cheek to the floor, sweep your left leg forward, and we've got both legs bent then, and we're in a deer position, and you could lean forward from here. So we're working into this hip rotation and hip opening, but just in a slightly different way, or taking pigeon pose in a reclined version, which we've done before if you know where to go. Otherwise, you've got 3 breaths here. And then for the final 2, you can take it forward to a sleeping pigeon, your choice. Inviting you here for the next 2 breaths to drop the hands low to the floor. Maybe the head, maybe the chest. Whichever version you've picked here, make sure those hips are level. You can always pad up under the front left hip or maybe under the right bum cheek to give yourself some support to stay even. Making sure also that the left knee is nice and straight and not twisted. 2 more breaths here. And press the floor away if you were lowered down. Release your front leg, and the way we're going to do that is pick the left foot up, press the left toes to the floor. Let that right knee have a bit of breathing room here and step it back to a downward facing dog. Rock forward to plank. You're going to hold again, either in a high plank or low plank with the knees to the floor. So pick your version. Staying here for 3, 2, 1. And then lowering down in one solid piece, or knees first, but either way, your elbows are tight into the rib cage as you lower to the floor. Inhale to lift baby cobra and curl the back toes. And exhale to lower down. Inhale up to downward facing dog. And this time stepping the left foot forwards. Right foot finds your support if you had it there. Come into low lunge. Left knee over left ankle, uncurl your back foot, inhale to lift up, or maybe palms stay together at the center of the chest, always choices. Draw your left foot forward and shift your right knee forwards. Left foot back, sorry, right knee forwards. Inhale to reach up, feeling a deep stretching, opening through the front body. If it feels good for the neck, you're looking up. If not, you're looking down. On your next exhale, you're going to sweep your hands down, finding our Ardha Hanumanasana, half split pose. Shifting the weight backwards, straightening through the front leg. And you can keep the spine rounded, it's okay for today. Your focus is on the hamstring. Option to stay here, fingertips down to the floor. You can absolutely stay up, and if you have something near you, you could use that as a prop. And then right hand tracks to the outside of your left leg, maybe the outer calf and shin, or maybe it finds the right little toe. The left little toe would make sense. You've got 2 more breaths with the twist if you've taken it. Then release, shuffling back to our low lunge, rebend the left knee, and then taking the left foot in and then across to pigeon, or finding that deer pose. So on this side, it would be left bum cheek to the floor, and then bring the right knee closer forwards, bending that knee. Check in that the hips are level, check that the right knee and the right ankle are straight and not twisted. Might not be comfortable, but we've got to be safe. You've got 3 breaths at the top, and then I'll invite you to lower forwards. And if you'd like to, lowering down onto forearms or hands to the floor. On your next in-breath, press the floor away, lift the chest. Allow some space to come for the left knee, so curl those right toes under. And let the left leg step back to a down dog, or maybe knees to the floor and just step it backwards. We're going to take a little wide leg fold. So from here, shifting to the long edge of your mat. Any side will do. And take your knees wide. We're going to move up from here. So kind of a wider leg kneeling position. Take weight into the hands, curl your toes under. So we're in sort of a bent leg down dog at the side. Step your feet nice and wide. You can always keep a bend in the knees. So often with a standing wide leg fold, we think the legs have got to be dead straight. That's not the case. You might find if you're particularly tight through the calves and the ankles that this position stretches quite heavily into there, and it could be a bit trickier to have straight legs. So starting with bent knees so your fingertips can find the floor, and then press into every single toe, and particularly the baby toe on each side. And feel a stretch come to this sort of Achilles area, back of the calf. You're going to feel that with both feet down. And then you can always use a prop, bring in some bricks if you have them, or anything else as a substitute to give yourself some lift and bring the ground closer to you. The edge of a chair can work quite well with this as well. Then when you feel comfortable, maybe straightening the legs and start to lower the chest and the head down to the floor. So kind of crown of the head coming down. So you're gazing, peeking back at the space in between both legs. And really here, you know, the wider your legs go, you're going to feel this on the inner thighs and the outer calf, maybe into the feet. And with the legs closer together, maybe a slight bend, or you're keeping straighter legs, but a narrower position, you're going to feel this more in the hamstrings. Rock the weight forward into your toes, press down into the floor if your hands are there, and then the head comes down, look behind you. Stay here for 2 breaths. And gently ease off. If you had a prop or not, your fingertips are going to come in front of you to rock the weight forward. Bend your knees. You're going to shuffle yourself in whatever way works, and then step down. So we're in a low kneeling position here. So just bring yourself in and down to the floor. Curl your toes under. You're going to gently sit back into a toe squat. Final bit of fire before we come to the floor. So you're kneeling down, all of your toes are curled under here. And you can, the more weight in this pose is with you sitting upright, straight spine. So if you want to take some of the weight out, rock forwards, weight into the fingertips, and then gently ease yourself back bit by bit. And try and hold the focus. This is stretching into the plantar fascia. There's not much going on in terms of softness and sort of fattier tissues around the feet, obviously, so we can feel this quite strongly. So I'd encourage you to place your hands onto your thighs. Steady breath in through the nose. Gentle breath out through the mouth with a very small O shape through the lips. Golden thread breath. Imagine your breath spiraling like a golden soft thread away from you, further away with each breath out. You're going to stay here for 3. Doing really well. 2 breaths more. Final one. Great work. That's a strong one. Hands to the floor. Uncurl your toes. They will still work, I promise you. And then you're going to tap them as softly or hard as you would like. You're just going to tap them to get the feeling back into the toes. And then sink your hips down and lower yourself all the way to the floor. So shuffling onto one side. Head to the floor. You can lie all the way down. Bring in any props that you'd like. Bend both knees, bring them into the chest, give yourself a hug. Place your hands onto the top of the shins. You might want to circle through the ankles, maybe still scrunch into the toes if they're feeling a bit funky after the toe squat. And your head is soft and low to the floor. Let your shoulders soften, big squeeze in. Take some circles with the knees, rolling into the lower back, clockwise and anti-clockwise. I'm going to separate the legs and take a happy baby for 2 closing breaths. So placing hands onto the top of the shins, and you can just separate the knees from where you are. That's a good start point. And if you want a little bit more into the feet here, you can kick the feet up to the ceiling. So we've got these angles arriving, ankles stacking over the knees, and maybe taking a grip around big toes or hands track to the inside of each foot. And you can press down. And all this is doing is allowing more leverage through the arms and a deeper flexion and compression into the hips. Soles of the feet up to the ceiling. This is nice and kind of therapeutic and massaging for the internal organs, deeply pressing in, particularly the digestive system, soles kicking up to the sky. Take one final full breath here. And then allow the legs to come back together. You're going to send them away, full body stretch. Feet point away, fingertips reach above you. Let yourself be nice and open. Lots of compression into the hips today. Any final movements that feel good so that you can move to a place that's a little more still. Shoulder blades to the floor, palms up. If that doesn't feel comfortable for you, then you can place them onto your belly or palms down. Soften your eyes or maybe fully close them. And now come to notice how you feel. Maybe first checking in with your breath. Noticing your heart rate, how quickly you're breathing. And check in with how your body feels. Are you able to notice any areas that might need you to send a bit more relaxation, a bit more release their way? Maybe it's the shoulders, maybe it's the glutes, maybe it's lower in the legs. And notice the heaviness of your heels connected to the floor, the back of the calves. The buttocks, the hips, the upper back, shoulders, elbows, back of your hands, and the crown of your head. Just for your final few breaths here before we close your practice. If you're joining here live, we're doing this on a Monday evening, so it can be a nice opportunity to maybe make an intention for the rest of your week, or reconnect with a goal or an ambition or a commitment that you've made this week. Maybe it's around your running, maybe it's around rest, maybe it's around work or something personal. And then bring your attention to the sounds, smells, sensations, feelings about the room that you're in, reconnecting to the space, to this moment. And gently move into hands and feet, take a wiggle out through fingers, through toes. And you're very welcome to stay where you are, but if you need to move, then you're going to bend both knees, come onto one side. Press yourself through to an easy seat. Cross-legged if that feels good. Take it slow, take it steady. Sitting up tall, inhale to lift your arms high, palms press. Let them settle through to the center of your chest. You're going to bow your head here, giving thanks to yourself for making the time to stretch, to move, to breathe today, to connect to yourself. I hope you enjoyed that practice. It's great to share it with you. Namaste. Well done. I'll close this off there, stop the recording. If you're staying, having a lay down, then we'll leave you in peace. Well done, everyone.